So let's talk about team, right?
Yeah.
So for your syndication, how do you have your team, members doing different? So do you have somebody that's okay, somebody that is the acquisition guy?
Yeah.
Or do you all kind of chip in on that? Do you have somebody that just does, that does the underwriting? Maybe particular, and maybe they pass it around to the group, or do you
Sure.
not do that? Just talk about that. And then do you have, do you have somebody that's the capital raiser? That may have connections and that
Sure.
is raising, or is that all of you? Or, and then you got the whole asset management side, right? So when you've went about putting together your team, right? So how have you guys worked together and said, or have you, and said, okay, you know what, Tommy, you're gonna be doing this, and Brian, you're gonna do this, and Pat, you're gonna do this, or how did those roles come about? Or
Yeah.
explain that to us a
It's
little
it's
bit.
pretty interesting. I'm gonna compare it to my personal experience, but whenever
Okay.
I decided to be focused on investor relations and capital raising,
Yep.
I wasn't analyzing, the volume of deals that would justify me closing on a deal every quarter. Right. I need to be looking at hundreds of deals in order to get to that type of volume where I want to close 4 deals a year. That's kind of the reality of the situation. There's a lot of frogs you got to kiss to find your prince. And so when I was focused on that capital raising part,
Michelle agreed with
she
that.
confirmed. It's confirmed. And so when I was doing that, the part that made me nervous, I mentioned before, the part that made me nervous was like, I don't have an acquisition pipeline if I'm focused on capital raising. What do I do?
Yeah.
Started sweating a little bit. But I still the Brandon Turners of the world, they say, just get good at one thing and the rest will come to you. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna learn how to build a brand, be marketable, and just tell everyone what I'm doing and educate and add value to others. And we'll see what happens. And I did that for about 2 months, and I think I underwrote like a deal a month, and it was embarrassing. And then Drew approached me, and he was like, hey, I see you at the meetups. I see you're focused on capital raising. I want nothing to do with that, but I think I found an offer that's worth putting an offer, or I found a property that's worth putting an offer on. Do you want to come into this and help me around on the team? I was like, yeah, I got a mentor to back me up. We can, finding the money is the easy part. Like, I've got all that figured out. Let's go see the property. So we go, see it. He shows me his underwriting. We start from there. Oh my God, Brian, we got so excited on that one. We're like, I'm feeling really good about this offer. This is it. This is going to be our first into it. And it's just I think someone offered like 60% more than we did. And they were definitely not a syndication group. They're an individual buyer that was probably 1031ing at a loss. And she's like, I just want to park money here for 2 years. Like, how do you compete with that? Anyways, I haven't been. And so it's pretty interesting how there is a lot of truth, and if you just focus on one thing, your team members will come. And so Drew is a partner of mine that we're not formally aligned on any sort of entity or anything like that, but we've been looking at deals for the better part of a year. I think last year Q4 we made $40 million in offers, which the sad reality that's only a handful of properties, for multifamily, but our goal in Q1 was to triple that. I think we more than quadrupled the number of offers, right? That we did, and I see you're just like, you guys ran me ragged. Like I see that in your face.
Joanna's not here.
She's like, oh yes, that happened. I think we're close to like $1 billion in underwritten properties this year. Last I looked, and that really hasn't changed for 3 weeks. And so that was just kind of like, it was all just like a front half loaded part of the year. And so part of that is just me just like being allowed to focus on my craft while someone else is doing it. But I think generally speaking, like there's a running joke that everyone's a capital raiser in syndications, right? Everyone should be leveraging their network or offering opportunities for other people to invest. Like you're kind of a dick if you're not, at least going out to your network and offering them people, because there's people out there in the world that they see your success and in their mind, they're either asking it openly or closedly, like how can I be a part of what you're doing? Right. And if you don't even give them the chance, then you're kind of a jerk. So that part of that comes with believing in your product and what you offer. But everyone needs to be a capital raiser. But I would say that everyone kind of needs to be able to underwrite. Like you need to have the capability. Like I don't get passion from it, but I can know when someone's trying to take advantage of me on a piece of paper. There's a saying that numbers don't lie, but I can make them say whatever I want. And that's true for underwriting deals and returns.
So you're not passionate about them, but I know somebody who is.
Yes,
It
yes.
happens to be Drew.
Yes, for sure.
So,
So we got connected,
Yeah.
and so he's I mean, my background was sales operations, and so I'm basically managing our pipeline. So I have a list full of the database of properties that we've underwritten. What is the amount that we think is for value? What is our offer? Did this go under contract? Yes or no? Yes or no? Just what part of the pipeline, and then we have kind of a dashboard that says, how many properties have we underwritten? How many leads? Volume. Volume plus dollars and all this stuff. So we have a breakdown, and we review that on a weekly basis, very much traction style.
Yeah.
And so you're not gonna get results from whatever you don't measure. So the idea there was like, let's find a way to measure something. So I measure on the investor pipeline side of things, like how many new conversations or new contacts am I making on a weekly, monthly basis, that type of thing. And so that's really just kind of growing the business organically just by looking at it on a weekly basis and being held accountable to, hey, it looks like you didn't talk to anybody this week. Like what's up with that? So,
yeah. Well, the underwriting piece absolutely is fascinating to me from the standpoint of how different people can underwrite things, differently, right? I mean, so, when we had that presentation of, what it was at the RIN, meetup, and you have Brandon who, does back of a napkin underwriting.
that looks good.
Yeah, versus, Mikey too, who has, these
zoomed in.
spreadsheets that has like 150 columns and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding me. This would drive me crazy, but somebody like Travis probably would like that. But, I mean, everybody's a little different. That's why, to me, it's absolutely fascinating to see how different people go about underwriting the different things, right?
For sure.
And then, some people will look at a deal and they'll look at it and say, okay, that's a 5 cap, but I don't even look at the going in cap rate. I'm looking at what the stabilized cap rate is, right? And so, they look at deals totally different than other people and all that. And so you probably have a lot of different mindsets when you're putting together a team, right? Now on the syndication, I mean, because you actually have your team of brokers and team of, attorneys or property managers and all this, and then you have your own team that's actually doing the deal. Right. So
it's
like
pretty
you're saying,
interesting.
you're herding a lot of cats trying to
for sure.
on deals.
It's pretty interesting how, I guess just the term partner means it can mean so many different things in regards to syndication, right? Because I would say Drew is my partner, but we don't share business equity in anything. And I would say, these other people are my partners, but it's just on the deal level. Or I have other partners that I work with that are, maybe more truly my mentors, that type of thing. I'd even, I think property managers are partners. I think you are definitely a partner in this. And so, but also like in terms of syndication, like investors are partners and, tenants are the clients. Right. We serve them kind of thing. And so I think there's a lot of people that kind of lose sight of that. Right. They're like, hey, we're going to raise rents. We're going to feed people to death. And we're not going to worry about creating a sense of community or making it more desirable or safer. And it's just like, I don't want anything to do with you if that's the case, It's like.
So on the capital raise side, so what are the red flags when you're talking to people other than, is this your last $100,000, right?
Yeah.
That's a major red flag. But what are some other questions that when you ask, you go, okay, this is not going to be a good fit?
For sure. Yeah. It's and I try to ask as many on the front end as possible, because after they put in that 50 or 100,000, like, you've just entered marriage, you are now married for the next 5 years, and let's hope that we all get along amicably for what is that, 1,500 days. And so you have to ask. I actually have like a document that has like 26 questions to qualify an investor type thing, but I think legally, like, there's really only 7, right? Things like, do you understand the minimum amount? Like, are you sophisticated or accredited? But I mean, there's also like I actually like this part because I get to have like real money discussions. I don't have to like beat around the bush. I'm like, hey, you know, like what's your net worth? Like what's your liquidity status? You know, how many kids do you have? Like how much do you like, you know, give in donations? Like are you party animal, or like what's your entertainment budget? And I get to have like those real conversations with people. And then, you know, there's the other fun question that comes
It
up
can
of,
be legal question.
sure. Yeah, and it's just like, I mean, if I can deduce that
Yeah.
that you know they don't have,
Right.
they're spending way more than they earn, you know, on an annual basis, and it's like it's just a matter before this erodes, and you actually do need this 50,000 by year 3, you know, or something like that. And so, a lot of it, I would say, mostly just kind of comes down to like a alignment of morals. But I would say, what's funny is like, for especially for like a first time investor, like I should be the one asking way more questions about their situation. Like if they're asking like kind of like invasive questions,
Yeah.
you know, as far as like running the property and
Mhm.
you know, choice of paint and stuff like that, that kind of leads me to believe that they're really interested in being an active investor. I'd say that's it's not like the end of the world, but it's just like it's something you need to know how to navigate, right?
Yeah.
Am I gonna like what kind of information do I need to feed this person? Are they gonna love the quarterly financial reports, or do they just want to see pictures? Like, and part of that kind of comes with like knowing what personality that you're dealing with, that you're going to be able to satisfy their needs for. But I think Ben Inman's been up here a couple of times, and he's just like, the last thing you want to do is just take everyone's money.
Yeah.
Like you really just need to make sure
Yeah.
that you're aligned on time frame as well as values. I know he's had that bite him in the butt a
Yeah,
couple
that's
times.
I think the greatest story is the one he talks about, the one investor that
Mhm.
invested like 400,000 or 500,000 or something into a deal. And
Yeah.
the guy ended up being the investor from hell, but
Mhm.
and it was just total nightmare.
Yeah.
And was calling and accusing of them this, whatever. Then what he found out is the guy had gone out and taken a loan for 400 or 500,000 and invested in the deal. He actually took out a loan, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the craziest story I've heard as far as somebody that ended up being an LP on it.
Yeah.
You know, a deal is that, you know, that's what I'm saying is, you know,
Mhm.
it's probably good that you have 26 questions you're asking people, because, you know, yeah, usually you ask
Mhm.
okay, this is not your last 100, right? But you probably don't ask them, okay, you borrowing money from for this, you know, I mean, that's probably the last
What is your
question you're gonna.
source of funds?
Yeah,
Right.
where did you get this from, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, pretty crazy. So, last parting questions, because we've gone an
I
hour.
was thinking,
So Garrett has money, he wants to know where to put it. Just kidding.
yes. You in underwriting and like the amount of it. So for you, is it more important the dollar amount that you're underwriting or the amount of deals that you're underwriting? And is the cap rate more important, or is it the actual like dollars that are kind of going to go through the property and you know that are going to actually be received? That's more important.
Yeah. And so as far as the underwriting goes, I think the dollar amount doesn't matter, honestly. That was something that we actually evolved from. So we were like, yeah, we've underwritten so many, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's just like, we really need to be tracking volume.
Yeah.
Like we need more reps regardless of the price. And so it got ludicrous whenever we were underwriting like 200 plus unit properties, and they were just like inflating everything. You know, it's just like, all right, this is still just one property. But I think the part of the exercise that a lot of people miss is like, yeah, they find out, you know, why or why not the deal doesn't work, but they need to find a price that works for them. Right. I think that's the valid part of the exercise. That is the complete underwriting part of the exercise. Is finding your number, right? And if you know, if it goes in a contract, it's probably going to fall out again, because that seems to be happening with rising interest rates. But being, you know, does that come back off the market and then at like a 5 or 10% discount, and maybe it is at your number, right? And just knowing again like what your number is, no hesitation, like I'm going to jump on this if it gets anywhere near this, that type of thing. So as far as like what I put a value on, so currently, if we're on the brink of a recession or uncertain economic activity, I think we've been in a recession for a while, but you know, so I actually put more emphasis just on cash flow, just because with what interest rates are doing and how I'm seeing deals get put together, I see a lot of skinny deals, which means that there's like fake returns being shown to people, and syndicators are just living off of acquisition fees and asset management fees, and that's the kind of shadow realm of syndication. And so people are, I guess, there's some, and I say again, going back to the numbers don't lie, but I can make them say whatever I want. So some of the things I kind of like use as sensitivity analysis is to understand, like, what is your cash flow year one, right? It's probably going to be negative if there is a preferred return. Is it negative like all the way through year two? Like, is there payout in year two? What's that look like? So what does the cash flow distributions look like? When does it start turning positive? Because I'm seeing like 2 layers of debt most of the time to, if a bank is only lending at 70% LTV, like we're seeing people take an extra 10%, like a private loan, like outside of the bank's knowledge, just to get deals done to still, juice those returns. And so it gets to where cash flow is like really, really low. Your break-even occupancy is incredibly low. And so making sure you're looking at sensitivity analyses, but the way that people are getting around that and making it look doable is just by, they're pretending that rents are going to grow like they have for the past year. And it's like, we're kind of overdue for a correction on that. And then cap rate is more or less speculation, right? What do you think cap rate is going to be in 5 years? Like, that has a big effect on your purchase price or your sell price, your exit price, don't get me wrong. But we underwrite for expansion, which means that we underwrite for our purchase price going down effectively, right? That's our way of saying that's the market working against us. That's how we pencil that into the numbers. That's how we're conservative. One way that we're conservative when we underwrite. And so, but if you're underwriting for flat cap rate or even like cap rate compression to make your purchase price or exit price seem more higher, then that's a red flag to me for knowing how people are manipulating things. And then refi, right? If you put a refi into any sort of underwriting, your numbers are going to look great. So that all those things are like red flags to me. Like, how are people using that information? But I've put less emphasis on what is going in cap rate, what is going out cap rate versus are we underwriting for expansion as we go? We've been looking more at like yield on cost, generally speaking.
Well, thank you, Tommy. I know that hour went by real fast, a little over an hour. So
I believe we're there.
And Michelle, these are really for you. Just make sure he shares, but we want to give you some nice warm tip treats from cookies. And yeah, they're from Michelle.
I've never felt them before.
Yeah. So yeah. So we appreciate you coming again and give it up for
Doug, I'm sorry I took all your time, man.
All right, Doug, come on up, Dr. Doug. Yeah.
Does everyone want to stand up and just stretch for a second? Or is it just
It's
just me?
Just you, okay. You talked him into it now.
Yeah, that was hard.
Yeah.
Been 30 minutes, so I can't. Yeah, okay.
Hey, Sierra, I found somebody else up here with like a 50-gallon drum of water too, so you're not the only one.
Yeah.
So, all right, we are honored to have Dr. Doug with us. Is that all right? I call you Dr. Doug?
Doug is good.
Doug's good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Doug is
So, yeah. So we're having Doug back as a repeat guest. We had many people that loved his speech a year ago, or interview a year ago, but Doug's got
Half a year.
was it half a year?
I think
It's been so,
It feels like a year.
yeah, probably been,
Yeah.
but it seems like it's been that. So,
Yeah.
but Doug is he's one of those psychologist guys, right?
Guilty,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and this is always an interesting, topic I kind of like to, talk about. So, because for many people here know that, well, most people here don't know that when I actually graduated college, because I actually did, believe it or not. I know that's hard for some people, but I graduated with a degree in communications and started out as a sports broadcaster. The other degree I had was in family finance.